When Shri Krishna is talking to Arjun, the moment he says that you're not the body, you're not the mind, then who you are? He says you are the consciousness, pure consciousness. And where does this consciousness comes from? The next question that Arjuna has. And he says that this is a part of the cosmic.
Welcome to Unpacking Ideas, the podcast where each episode we unpack an influential piece of writing from the past in order to make it more accessible in the present. Today we're looking at the Bhagavad Gita from the Mahabharata. Today helping me unpack this book was Gandhar Mandlik. We covered a lot of ground in this conversation. We talked about the context of the Gita and how the story begins, the idea of Atma and Brahma, false identification with the physical body, the trap of sensory desires, following one's Dharma, the different paths towards self-realization, the monk versus the householder, karma, karma yoga, non-attachment, bhakti, jnana yoga, the cosmic vision, and an interconnected view of nature. This is a book that I've been wanting to cover for a long time, but was just kind of waiting for the right guest to come along, and Gandhar was the perfect guy. His wisdom and knowledge of the Gita just really shine in this conversation and really helped me to connect a lot of dots. So I hope that you guys get a lot of value from it as well. And here it is, my conversation with Gandhar on the Bhagavad Gita. So we met a couple months ago back in February. I did my teacher training with you in India at your ashram, and got to know you pretty well. And one of the things that you were lecturing on was the Bhagavad Gita, and that was a special interest to me. And I was usually the person that had all the questions at the end. So
I think those questions were very relevant. So I was very, very, very happy that you're thinking about these subjects. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've kind of been in communication over the last couple of months to make this happen. And I've also watched your lecture series on the Gita on YouTube, which I encourage everybody to check out, where you go into detail on each chapter of the Gita. And I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about upfront, kind of your personal relationship to the Gita, because I'm guessing this is something you've read several times. You probably read a lot of different commentaries, different translations. Maybe just what's kind of been your personal relationship to this text, and maybe how you've changed the way that you've interpreted or seen it throughout the years.
I think that's a very, very relevant question you asked. And it's very important for me also to start with that. Look, I did not start reading Bhagavad Gita from a philosophical perspective or from some kind of higher spiritual ideas. I purely started it because I had depression. And I did not really see the point in doing things that we do in everyday life, say trying to do some job, earning money, or trying to talk to people, or carry on with our day-to-day activities. I did not see any point. It was very strong, severe depression. And then I came across this book because of my father. He said, why don't you read this? I always had a lot of respect for this text since my childhood. But when I started reading this book, the first thing that connected me with this book is all about solving the problems that we all face in our day-to-day life. First is depression. The Bhagavad Gita is a story. It is a part of a story of Mahabharata, where there's two armies ready to fight each other. One army is being led by a prince called Arjun. He represents good virtues, he represents values, he represents truth. And against him is his cousins, who represent the vice, who represent the untruth, who are greedy, who are selfish. So we represent the negative aspects. which are very troubling for us in our day-to-day life as well. So you can see the war between the right and the wrong. What happens is, in that, the Arjun, who is a very good man at heart, he has to fight this war because the war is enforced on him. And it's essential that he fight, otherwise his survival is in danger. Now, even in this tricky situation, he is thinking as to why he should fight and kill the people. He is a very powerful warrior. He can certainly destroy his enemy army. But there's an ethical and moral and a question that comes from his heart, that why he should kill these people. But he's forced, and this leads to the depression. So he experiences severe depression where he has to kill his own cousins. And in the army of the cousins, there are some people who are very beloved to Arjun, like his guru, like his great grandfather. They're fighting from the cousin side because they're obliged to do that. Now, this is a very, very tricky situation. In my life, if I have to kill my loved ones because they're representing the wrong side, then certainly I'll experience the same depression. And then I started thinking, when I was trying to put myself into Arjuna's shoes and see how his world will be. And I realized that it's a terrible situation for anyone, where you certainly know that there is a death on either side. This is what struck with me. Say, like, such a terrible situation, and now he has to, excuse me, and he has to come out of it. And the Bhagavad Gita is all about Sri Krishna, who is his guru and who is his friend and who is his cousin, who is the main central character of Bhagavad Gita. He represents the evolved supreme consciousness. He's born as a human, but he represents that higher consciousness because he has reached that higher dimension. And Sri Krishna guides Arjuna to come out of this negative situation that he is faced with. And this is what is the text of Bhagavad Gita. And this is what exactly resonated with me, that in the most negative states of our mind, what should we do to come out? And this text, when I started reading it, it just looked to me that it's just not purely a psychotherapy, or it's not just a text of Sri Krishna consoling Arjuna or giving some words of advice to him, but it's an integrated idea of life. And that is what is most important for me. And that's why that text of Bhagavad Gita has been my central support all these 20-25 years that I've been studying it.
That's so great. I mean, because you said it wasn't kind of just intellect or just curiosity that led you. It was a very practical problem, in your life that you were trying to solve. And it's kind of ironic because it's kind of Arjuna's dilemma as well. Like, he is a very practical in the world problem that he's faced with, this kind of conflict of, whether or not to go into battle against his relatives and his former guru. But then, as you mentioned as well, Krishna not only kind of helps Arjuna solve this issue, but also gives him a lot more than he bargained for. It's kind of one of those situations maybe where Arjuna thinks his problem is here, and then Krishna's like, no, there's actually a lot more to this. This is actually maybe just a tiny part of the issue.
The whole thing of Bhagavad Gita actually says something very important, which we may have missed. And it is any problem that you have in your individual life, or any problem that is there in the society, or any problem that is there in the nature, cannot be seen as an isolated problem. The idea of interconnected world, the idea of interconnected human consciousness, or the idea of interconnected human and nature connections, something that we have missed. I think that I can be very happy in, for example, very happy in the city where I have all the pleasures of my life. A very good apartment, all good facilities there, very good transport for me. Then I can go to workplace, very good environment in my workplace. Look, this urban life has created a lot of stress for us because we disconnected ourselves from nature.
Mm.
We thought that nature can be somewhere else. Maybe I can just go on holidays for 2 days, then I can experience nature and come back to my work. It doesn't work that way. In my work, I still face the stress. If you look at society, oh, I will be very safe in my little house where I put very good security systems around me. And then my life will be okay. I have nothing to do with the other people around. But that doesn't work. We still feel unsafe. So there is no way that I can discard this integrated, interconnected approach. And unless I start thinking about it, I cannot solve my problems. My anxiety is not just little problem connected with uh, what I get and what I don't get. It's more than that. It's connected with nature. It's connected with people around. It's connected with their attitude. It's connected with my attitude. It's connected with my connection with them. So that, I think, is another very, very important point, that you cannot see your problem in isolation. It has to be seen in the context of a bigger picture.
That's great. Krishna is kind of getting Arjuna to see the bigger picture. And one of the things you said in your lecture series on YouTube was, the first thing Krishna is going to do to kind of help Arjuna out of this dilemma that he's in is to kind of get him to say, well, right now your issue is that you are falsely identifying with your physical body, whereas you are actually much more than that. You are actually a part of the divine. And maybe we can kind of get into this theme of Atman, because this is really a big kind of core thing to begin to understand this piece.
Yeah, that's a very, very important point you're suggesting. The whole idea comes down to, who am I? So when I'm talking to people, I say this is my hand. Say this is my body. This is my heart. This is my brain. But who is me? Who is that? Is the hand me? No, hand is my hand. It's my part. So is the whole body me? So who is this me when I say that this is my body? Even in fact for mind we say I am thinking. It's my mind. It's I am experiencing emotions. So if you look at how we speak, we ourselves understand that the body is not me. Emotions I experience, but it's not me. So Shri Krishna has told Arjuna that this is what is your pure consciousness. The identifications have come because of the experiences that this consciousness is having with the body and with the mind. So you have to dissociate that. You have to identify this very, very clearly. Now look at the body. Every 7 years, every cell in your body is replaced. So 7 years back, the body of Zach and now the body of Zach is completely new. But Zach doesn't feel new. Zach says, I am the same. Medically, it's known that every cell is replaced. So that itself is also supportive argument to what I am saying, that we identify ourselves with the body, which is wrong. We identify ourselves with the mind, which is wrong. We can identify it as like, okay, the body is right now being operated by this consciousness and the mind is also being operated by this consciousness. So the whole idea, if you change to this, then the sufferings of your body and mind does not really or should not really affect you. That's how he starts. Of course there's more complications, it's not that easy. why this identification is there and why this identification causes pain and suffering and why it again changes everything. So of course Sri Krishna addresses how to get out of that pain and suffering, but this is the first point he makes.
Yeah, and it's an interesting one because, I think usually when we're asking for advice, we expect the person we're asking for advice from to tell us what to do. And instead, Krishna kind of says, well, first you have to have the right understanding before I kind of give you the advice of maybe the right action. Your understanding will kind of inform that action. At least that's kind of the way I understand it. And then,
I just want to make one more interesting
yeah,
point.
yeah.
When Sri Krishna is talking to Arjun, the moment he says that you're not the body, you're not the mind, then who you are? He says you are the consciousness, pure consciousness. And where does this consciousness comes from? The next question that Arjuna has, and he says that this is a part of the cosmic. Now this is one of the most important parts of Bhagavad Gita, I would say, where Sri Krishna says that the cosmic consciousness, the cosmic, because in physics also we understand that the whole universe has come from a one small point. The Big Bang theory suggests that very very small point, smaller than atom, contained the whole of the universe. Means the whole universe was one, just one in a small point that exploded. So even if the point has exploded, we are all same. Like there's no difference because we all come from that same point. So this idea of union. See, even the English word is universe, one. There's oneness in that.
Yeah.
So that consciousness idea is actually to connect us to the universe. Where this is one of the main reasons for our anxiety. We feel lonely. There's no reason for us to feel lonely. We are a part of the universe. The consciousness has not come from somewhere and it's not going in some darkness. It's come out of the cosmic, which is a very powerful energy source. The Big Bang, when you say that the universe was contained in a small point, it was infinitely hot. So it's very energetic, very powerful. Look at the sun, which is still glowing with that same energy. So we come from that. So there is no reason for us to feel darkness. There is consciousness, which is light itself, which is energy itself. So we are falsely identifying ourselves with darkness, negativities and sadness and anxiety and stress. That's not our nature. Our true nature is this. So he wanted to have that point. Now the second thing he is saying, which
Okay.
becomes the central theme later on in Bhagavad Gita, and in fact it's the central theme of Buddha's teachings also, and yoga teachings in Ashtanga Yoga or Hatha Yoga, it becomes a central theme. The idea is, why do I identify so much more with the body? And that is because of the influence of my sensory organs. My eyes, ears, nose, skin, tongue. And these sensory organs have a lot of desires. They have demands. Every moment they make demands. Tongue makes demand. I want food. I want food. Eyes, I want to see everything beautiful. I want beautiful car. I want beautiful house. I want very beautiful clothes. Eyes, I want beautiful phones. iPhone 14 now.
Yeah.
It's all about the sensory organs, and these sensory organs create desires, and these desires actually make us identify with the body more and more and more and more and more. So the identification with body has direct connection with sensory organs.
So that's a great kind of lead in because you said the reason that we identify with the physical body is because of these physical desires. So it makes sense that therefore the way to stop identifying with the body and kind of realize the actual truth. Krishna then says, well, you have to start by disciplining the sense organs, disciplining your mind through things like meditation, um, you know, thinking about your karmas or your actions and becoming non-attached to the fruits of your actions. And we kind of move more into this, what should I do?
Yeah, that's very correct. So
Okay.
your understanding is exactly how the flow of the Bhagavad Gita is.
Mm.
Now, these sensory organs, are they really making us happy? That's the most important question. I think the food makes me happy. Really? I need to ask myself 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. Every time I see it, the answer is no. They are actually making me suffer.
Mm.
I like sugar. The sugar makes me suffer because I put on weight. My insulin resistance is a problem. I get into metabolic disorders. It can even lead to cancer, diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular diseases. Why it has started? Because my tongue has a desire. My eyes have a desire to see all beautiful, so I want more money for that. So money is actually relevant because the money fulfills our sensory desires. The moment the money will not fulfill sensory desires, the money will become redundant. Right now, my idea, I want this, is because I give importance to sensory pleasures. What we call as achievement in our world is all connected with the sensory pleasures and sensory desires. Of course, there's another element to it. We will come to that.
Mm.
But this is the most important thing that Sri Krishna is telling Arjuna, that the sensory pleasures won't make you happy. They'll give you a glimpse of positive experience, but at the end of the day, they'll result in stress for you.
Mm. Is part of the idea also that these, doing things like craving and striving after things, they also imbalance the mind, which that in turn doesn't allow us to kind of see
Flourish.
what is
Positive.
what is
Yeah.
true. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. What you're
Mm.
saying is exactly what is the highlight of Bhagavad Gita. That they actually mess us up more.
Mm.
Look, the cravings come from sensory desires. And these are the cravings that mess our mind. The addictions are the result of these cravings. If you look at scientific perspective, when I eat sugar or when I have salt or when I have some very exotic food, in my brain there's a neurotransmitter, there's a chemical called dopamine which is secreted, and this dopamine makes me happy. But that is temporary. This is very well known in scientific field. So today I eat one donut, and that brings me, say, x units of dopamine, and that makes me happy. If tomorrow I eat one donut, same donut again, then I don't get x units. I get x minus some units of dopamine.
Mm.
So what I need to do tomorrow is I need to eat a little bit more. That's how the brain works. And that's
Right.
how we get addicted to anything. Drugs, alcohol, nicotine, tobacco, smoking, sweets, salt. They are all bringing in this dopamine, which is not permanent. It lasts for short duration, and over a period of time, the quantity of dopamine goes down. So then later on, you see for the drug addicts, even the basic level, to maintain the basic level of neurotransmitter dopamine, their body has to take some drug in. That's when
Mm.
they become substance dependent disorders, where their basic functioning of the brain becomes dependent on basic quantity. So this is how the sensory organs actually take us down. Excuse me. And that's why Sri Krishna is highlighting that the problem starts with sensory organs.
Mm.
Now, the sensory desires, are they bad? Sri Krishna says they are not bad. They are there for a purpose. If you don't have a desire to eat, then you will not survive. So it's your survival instinct.
Yeah.
Sexual desire. It's a survival instinct. Your genes have to survive. procreation. It's a nature's instinct. So when you involve in these nature instincts, the brain is rewarded. So they are necessary, but they need to be limited and controlled. So the most important point Sri Krishna makes is, if you try to identify with the bigger picture, then first you need to control your sensory organs.
One of the things that I've kind of was trying to put together with this is, all right, so Krishna is telling Arjuna, you're making this false identification with yourself. You are actually more than this. You're the Atman. You are part of the divine. So therefore, you should, do these things in order to realize that, these things that we're talking about, like starting to discipline the sensory organs. But as I also understand, he's also kind of saying, once you realize the ultimate reality, once you realize your true nature, you are naturally going to act in a less selfish type of way. So it seems kind of that right understanding is leading to right action, and right action is leading to right understanding.
This is very nicely you put it in, and you're very correct. This is exactly what happens.
Okay.
Because if I am a part of divine, then all the energy of the divine is in me. So I certainly have the necessary intelligence to live this life in a positive way. I don't have to depend on anyone else. This is exactly what Sri Krishna is telling Arjun. That you already have that intelligence in you. You already have that light in you. You already have that divinity in you. You already have that positivity in you. So now, if I have all the things, is this right understanding going to work? And is it going to lead to right actions? Sri Krishna says yes. If you start controlling your sensory organs, the knowledge will manifest from within, and it will lead you to what you should be doing. And that is how he talks about the background of karma yoga.
Yeah, and maybe we can start to get into that, because that's such a big part of this.
There are two ways here. Let me just bring those here. One way is just give up everything, which is what Buddha said. Buddha said, give up your material life, just become a monk, come to the monasteries, stay in the monasteries, learn meditation, renounce all the things. That's how he led his life. He renounced his kingdom, his family, his uh, child, and then he became realized. This is one way. Of course, it's a powerful way. But Sri Krishna says that this way is not for everyone. He does talk about this way because it is one of the main thoughts in uh, Indian philosophy. Spirituality, Vedanta, renunciation is the theme, and you can lead a life of a sannyasi, a monk, by renouncing everything is the important part. But Sri Krishna says that that's not what everyone should do. That's not what nature expects from you. And who is nature? It's the energy that created you, and you are a part of that energy. So you can't reject the energy. So this idea is very interesting, that Sri Krishna says that no, becoming a monk is not a path for everyone. It is certainly a fantastic path, but for some. For common people, you should try and follow your nature's instinct. And this is where he leads to karma yoga.
And my understanding of karma yoga, it's a type of renunciation, but it's just a different type. So you're not renunciating your, material life and your family life and everything like a monk might, but you are renunciating your attachment to kind of the fruits of your labors.
Correct.
Is that okay? Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Right on the track. The idea is now I have to follow my nature. I have to follow what is instructed to me by the same consciousness that I am part of. Because there is a purpose. The life is not without purpose. There's a direction. Whether that's right, wrong, good, bad, I'm not talking about it. There's a direction. There's a purpose. There's a motivating force. which is pushing us in that direction. So you have to understand that in you. And that is very important. Once I understand that and I synchronize my life with that force, my life is going to go on positive path. Until I realize that, and unless I put my life in harmony with that, I'm going to experience suffering and pain. This is the basic idea.
Is that Dharma? Like
Correct.
doing what is your Dharma?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. That is what is the right path, because that's going to reduce my stress. The idea that Sri Krishna presents here is very interesting. He says that you have to do the karmas, that is your actions. Many times people understand karma word in a different way. They think karma is like you do something bad and it comes back to you. That's not how karma is understood in Sanskrit. The word karma, it's not karma, it's karma. Karma is the right action, that right behavior that is expected of you based on your connection with the nature that I talked about. So karma is a very, very broad word, very in depth also. It has depth also, and it has connection also. So it's a very broad word in that sense. So I find the right connection, then that connection leads me or motivates me to do a particular karma. Now while doing that karma, what should I do? Right now, what karma I am doing? I am trying to earn money. What karma I am doing? I am trying to eat. What karma I am doing? I am trying to enjoy my sensual life and life of my ego. That is my direction of the karma. And this is where my karma is leading to sadness and suffering and anxiety and stress and depression. So now I have to stop that. So what can I do to stop that? Dissociate myself from the fruit of the action. What Sri Krishna says is very interesting. When I am doing something, I want something in return. That's the result of my karma. Because I am doing karma for a purpose. I am earning money. I am doing, say, I am a lawyer, for example. And I am doing this law practice, so that I can earn money. So that is my goal.
Right.
If I lose money, I get depressed. If my ego is hurt, I get depressed. I get anxious, I get sad, I get all these things because I have attachment with the sensory desires, which is money related, and ego, again my achievement related. So if my karma is in line with these two, desires and ego, then it's going to lead to anxiety, stress, anger, depression, hatred, jealousy, greed, fear. All of these negative things, they come because I am doing the karma for my sensory desires and my ego. That's why sensory desires and ego become central themes, because they lead to all the vices that I just listed out and all the sufferings that I just listed out. Everything. Stress, anxiety, depression, anger, hatred, jealousy, fear, greed, desires, everything there. So Shri Krishna says to Arjuna, this is a direction that's going to end up in negativity. So first you have to realize the purpose, which should be in line with the nature, in harmony with the nature. Then second, you have to give up this attachment with the fruit of the action, which is connected with desires and ego. That becomes karma yoga. So then you will say, if I don't have to earn money and I don't have any achievement ambition, I don't want to become the topmost lawyer, or I don't want to become the richest man, or I don't want to become the best artist, or I don't want to become the best yoga teacher, whatever. If I don't have that, why should I do yoga? Why should I do that action? That's where Sri Krishna says that you still have to do the action, because that's just right for you.
So if I'm following you, there's kind of two ideas here. There's the idea of doing what is in your Dharma to do. So for the Buddha, it was his Dharma to kind of leave the householder life and go on this kind of spiritual journey. For somebody else, like you used an example of a lawyer, it's maybe that person's dharma to be a lawyer and to do law. Is that kind of the idea? You're doing what's in your nature to do, or you're kind of contributing your part. Since you are part of everything else, you're contributing your part.
You're really bringing up these points in a nice way, Zach. I appreciate that. This is the most important part. This is exactly what Sri Krishna is saying. And this is where he elaborates things. This is where things become more and more clear. He says that your life is not independent. Your life is interconnected life. Everyone has a contribution. Every animal has a contribution to the nature. Like you see a small pond, and it has its own ecology. So every member in that pond is contributing to maintain that ecology. And that's precisely the purpose of life. To maintain that ecology, maintain that balance, so that everything sustains and survives. And this is the bottom line of Bhagavad Gita, which I don't want to comment on other commentaries, but many people have not really seen this important aspect of Bhagavad Gita. 4 chapters have been dedicated to this theme of making Arjuna identify the roles of every object around him. You think the tree is not important? The tree is very vital. My last 50 years, we have destroyed the trees, and who is paying the price? We are all paying the price. We have polluted the air, and who is paying the price? I am paying the price. Because of deforestation, many animals have gone extinct. Who is paying the price? I am paying the price. The oceans have become dirty. Who is paying the price? I am paying the price. And this is exactly what Sri Krishna is saying, that look, every object around you, every person in the society, every animal, every tree, they have a role in that ecology. If I destroy certain sections, I'm going to pay the price. And this is where the purpose of why I am doing this action comes into picture. So I am not doing it for my sensory desires and my ego, but I am doing it to maintain the ecology. So a teacher should teach the students not to earn money, but to make sure that the future generations are intelligent and are able to take care of everything and maintain the balance and harmony everywhere. So there is always a bigger purpose, bigger than the ego and desires with every action. Now this is the highlight of Karma Yoga, that the bigger purpose, moving away from my desires and my ego, where I contribute to that ecology, that is the aim of Karma Yoga.
And it also seems to me like you're kind of looking at the bigger picture. Like you're, instead of just narrow framing and looking at, like you brought up the kind of talking about like planting a tree, instead of just cutting down a tree and taking a tree that might kind of benefit you in the very short term. But in the long term, if you don't replant a tree after you've taken one, then you're not going to have a tree, or nobody's going to have a tree down the road. So it seems to me it's also kind of taking a more expansive view and kind of seeing how your actions both affect other people and kind of affect you on a longer time horizon.
Correct. It's like one simple story. It's like one little boy and his grandfather working in the garden, and the grandfather is planting a mango tree. The little boy is curious. He asks his grandfather, "Oh, granddad, when will we get mangoes?" So the grandfather says, "Maybe around 10 years." The boy says, "Okay, then we both will eat this." The grandfather says, "You will certainly eat it, my boy, but I don't know if I'll be alive because I'm very old." Then the boy has a question. He says, "Oh, granddad, if you're not going to get the fruits of this tree, why are you planting it?" The granddad smiles and he says, "Look, my child, the fruits that I ate in my life I did not plant all those trees. And this is a very simple answer to why I should do things. And I think this is a very important point for all of us to remember, that whatever I am using, I did not create that. So I have to give because I got.
No, that's great. I love that story. Maybe we can start to talk about some of these other types of yogas, because he talks about, or I should say, the Gita talks about 3, maybe 4 different paths of yoga. So we talked about karma yoga. Maybe we can talk about jnana yoga and bhakti yoga and how they fit in. One of the commentaries I read, this might be a little too reductionist, but it said more or less the first third of the Gita deals mostly with karma yoga, and then the second third deals with jnana, and then the third deals with bhakti.
Look, if you go through chapter by chapter, first 6 chapters you can say he's talked about karma yoga. Next 6 chapters he's talked about bhakti yoga. That's what people say. Bhakti yoga is not like a separate path that he's talking about. He's saying it's a result of the selfless karma. It's a result of the karma that you do with non-attachment. And that's how you start seeing the unity between every living being and non-living being. You start seeing their role in your life. Bhakti, the word bhakta means the one who is not separate, the one who is united. When I see the same energy in you, that is bhakti. So then I see you and me are one. That is bhakti. Then you, me, and the ocean, that is the cosmic consciousness, we are all one. This is what I see. This is bhakti. So bhakti for me is more like a state of consciousness where the oneness is experienced constantly rather than following a separate path. It's not a separate path. It's a state of achievement. So Sri Krishna in chapter 12, which he calls as Bhakti Yoga, is highlighting the karma there also.
The way I've kind of heard it talked about over the years is, there's kind of 3 different paths. There's the karma yoga path, if you're maybe somebody who's more action oriented, the bhakti path if you're maybe somebody who's more devotional or love oriented, and then the jnana path if you're somebody who's more looking for truth through intellect and wisdom. And depending on your temperament, you might kind of pick one of these paths. But what you're saying, I think, is it's less that these are 3 separate paths. It's more that if you pursue karma yoga in this kind of non-attached way, it's going to lead you towards bhakti, towards this integration, which is going to naturally result in this desire for kind of worship of divine consciousness. Is that kind of the idea?
What you said is correct, because that's how it's being understood. Bhakti is a different path which is predominantly more for emotional people.
Right.
Jnana path is more for the people who are oriented in a logical, like more logical thinking. But look, see the teachers who taught Bhakti Yoga. How is their life? Their life is full of karma yoga. The people who followed Jnana Yoga path, their life is full of karma yoga, because that's what they did. That's how we understand these paths. They spread these paths through their selfless action. The Bhakti Yoga people spread their path through their selfless action. That is karma yoga. Now you are giving knowledge, Jnana Yoga path, or you are like trying to learn and then teach others. That is again people who have done that selfless again action. So you can see the karma yoga behind all of these ideas. So what you call is not that important for me. What is most important is the idea of bhakti, idea of selfless, non-attached way of doing karmas, which is in line with my nature. That is most important.
That's great. And I want to mention something that happened when I asked you to do the podcast, I said, I'm happy to kind of promote your yoga school. Hopefully, maybe you'll get a few people that join your courses from listening to this podcast. And I remember your response was like, yeah, you can promote if you want to, but like I just doing it to do it. You're not doing it to do it, but I'm doing it as a kind of expression of karma yoga. And I think that kind of hit home that this is kind of how this is practiced. So I just want to say I think you practice what you preach.
No, look, the point is when I'm talking about it, it
Yeah.
actually reminds me again of the same subject. That
Mm.
helps me confirm my belief in these ideas. And if I say that no, I'm doing this podcast so that I will have more students. Why I want more students? Because I have a bigger ego.
Mm.
Why I want more students? Because probably they'll bring more money to the institute. Of course, the institute is non-profit, but it's more of like growing and becoming bigger. Now that becoming bigger is a bigger problem.
Yeah.
The bigger people, you see the big corporates and all of them, it's like, oh, there's a problem. Everywhere there's a problem. You see the top billionaires in US, they are all marked in controversies.
More money, more problems. There's
Yeah,
a
they're all, everywhere you see there are problems.
yeah.
Becoming bigger is not better, that you have to understand.
Well, and then I guess going back to these kind of different paths of yoga, I mean, you could say that you're doing this as an expression of karma yoga, but you could also say you're doing an expression as jnana yoga, because we are kind of engaged in a more kind of intellectual pursuit of wisdom in the podcast. So I guess that kind of further, to me, that further kind of confirms your theory that it's hard to kind of separate these three.
You're right.
Yeah.
Because we cannot be separated from our emotions. We cannot be separated from our intellect. Because intellect, emotions, our actions, they're all interconnected. These are the three basic energies that every human being has. The energy to act, which is the Ichha Shakti, Karma Shakti, the energy of our karma, the strong desire to do something, to act, to move, which is like the basic of our life. Then also uh, the feelings, which is again very important for us. The energy of feeling, the willpower, that is the second energy. And the third energy, the energy of intellect, the thinking energy.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the three basic energies that exist in us.
Cool. So there were two themes that I wanted to get to at some point. There's the kind of theme of reincarnation and kind of how that relates to our karmas in this life and past lives. And then there's also this idea of kind of like non-dualism. And there's this whole chapter about the cosmic vision where Krishna appears to Arjuna in his totality.
First is the
Yeah.
integrated picture of life,
Yeah.
where Sri Krishna is showing the Arjuna the cosmic form.
Hmm.
Now, physics, if you discuss, we have two major dimensions. One is space, and the second is time. And Einstein did show that there's a connection, like it's interconnected, it's not different.
Hmm.
Warped space and the space time concept, very nicely, the direction given by Einstein, fantastic. But anyway, so Sri Krishna is showing this cosmic form where actually the time and space is being frozen. There is no time that exists in that frame, and the space is limited and infinite at the same time. A very interesting form he shows where the life and death is happening at the same time. Everything in the cosmos is integrated into one idea. So when I see my childhood and my old age at the same time, it's unimaginable right now. It's an integrated picture. This is who I am, the whole life in one frame. Now this life that I have is connected with everything at the same time. Right now my life is also connected with Zach. Through Zach, it's connected with so many people. Right now, this life is connected with here, with so many other things. My cells functioning from the energy that I receive from outside. It's connected with outside. I'm inhaling the air. Again, that's connected with so many trees, plants, people, pollution, everything it's connected with. So this interconnected idea of life is the most critical aspect of this cosmic vision of Sri Krishna. And I told you in the first part of our discussion how my body is made from the various stars and galaxies.
Mm.
So right now I should just treat myself as a small replica of the entire cosmos. How valuable I am. I am as valuable as the cosmos itself. Often the example in yoga is given as the ocean as the cosmic consciousness, and the drop is me.
Mm.
Is the drop irrelevant? No. It's the drops that make the ocean. Is the drop small and the ocean is big? It doesn't matter because the drops make the ocean.
They're made of the same
Correct.
substance. Yeah. Mm.
And the qualities of the drop and ocean? Same. Atomic structure, same. Molecular structure, same. I just identify it differently. In reality, it's not different. It's just one. When the drop merges into ocean, what happens to that drop? Buddha says the drop vanishes, shunya, zero, there's nothing. Sri Krishna says the drop becomes ocean because the drop is ocean.
Mm. Mm.
So this is the integrated picture that Sri Krishna shows to Arjuna about life.
Yeah, and this kind of unfiltered form of Krishna scares Arjuna. And the description, I won't read all of it, but it's things like, if 1,000 suns were to rise in the heavens at the same time, the blaze of their inner light would resemble the splendor of that supreme spirit. Your radiance is blinding and immeasurable. I see you, who are difficult to behold, shining like a fiery sun blazing in every direction. This is kind of the non-dualistic form where, like you said, time and space, there is no time and space. They're all
One.
They're all one. And I thought it was interesting. One of the commentaries I was reading was talking about how a lot of mystics who have had these kind of spiritual awakenings or these kind of encounters, seeing God or divine consciousness, whatever we want to call it, describe it as a like blazing light. I can think of maybe like Moses seeing God as a burning bush, and a lot of these different accounts. And in here, the kind of the light of the blazing sun, pretty extreme. I don't even know what to call it. Yeah, yeah.
This pretty extreme is not something that is difficult for us to understand with our scientific tools today. Look at the solar probe that is going close to the sun, a few million miles away from sun, and few million miles, of course, but it's very close to the sun. What is that solar probe experiencing? You tell me. Millions of degrees Fahrenheit temperature, just burning plasma. How kind and compassionate and ethical and moral and beautiful world that is. Tell me.
Mm.
It's unimaginable. Nothing sustains, nothing survives there. It's few million kilometers away and still it's sensing so much of crazy radiation. But that's the sun which holds everything together for us. That's the sun because of whom we are alive today. If you treat sun as the reflection of the cosmic consciousness, how kind that cosmic consciousness is in real terms. You see, this is worse than what you can imagine in a hell. The temperatures and the explosions and the radiations and the solar winds and the crazy things happening there. But that's the reality, and that's the energy which is holding everything together. So this is exactly, you can compare it with this example. Of course, it's more complicated than me describing sun, but then this is not a very kind form for our life to sustain.
Right.
So that's why Arjuna gets scared of this form. Now you imagine that right now, in a state of your meditation, you can see your life, you can see your birth, you can see your death, you can see the death of your beloved. How kind that vision will be. That's why Arjuna gets scared and he says, no, I don't want this. This is too much. Though it's a reality, I don't want it. So,
Right. And then the following chapter, Krishna then returns in his like
human
dualistic
form.
form. Yeah, in his personal form.
The idea is know the reality and then live your life with that reality in the back of your mind. Why you should know that at the back of your mind? So that it will help you get rid of your attachments, and it will get rid of your desires, and it will get rid of your ego. In that big picture of sun, what is the meaning of ego?
Right.
Look at that horrible temperatures, and you're going to say that I am worth $1 billion in that state. It carries no meaning. And $1 billion idea creates so much stress to me. So that's why Sri Krishna is saying that have the big picture that will help you get rid of your desires and ego and act in the moment so that you can contribute positively, selflessly, helping others, contributing back to the nature and to the society. That's the idea.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it's kind of throughout the Gita, the other theme that kind of comes up is that the person who is self-realized can see the Atman both in themselves and in all other creatures.
Right.
And the self-realized person then feels others' sorrows and joys as if they were his or her own.
So I identify with you because you and me are same. Then your joy is my joy, your sadness is my sadness. The idea is not making me sad because you're sad. The idea is I feel that connection. And that connection makes me give a lot of unconditional love to you if you're sad. And that love makes both of us happy. That's the idea. The idea is not if you are depressed, I also become depressed. Idea is not that. Idea is that oneness makes me give more of love, unconditional love to you so that you feel better. And that makes me happy as well. See, love is the only emotion that does not make you tired. If you give unconditional love, it actually makes you more happy. That's how Buddha could love so many people. That's why even Jesus Christ could love so many people. Jesus Christ, we remember him for unconditional love. Sacred Heart of Jesus Christ. It means that he loved everyone. Everyone, anyone who came to him. Well, that must have made him tired if we look at it this way. But technically, scientifically also, we understand now that if you love someone, it gives you a neurotransmitter called oxytocin. And actually, oxytocin has stress relieving properties. Oxytocin actually reduces blood pressure. It actually reduces cortisol, which is a chief stress hormone, which is known, quite well known now. So if you love someone, it actually benefits you rather than benefiting that person. Of course, that person is benefited if you offer love. Then the person feels very good because he feels connected, she feels connected. But you still get oxytocin, which will reduce your stress.
Right.
This is the idea that Sri Krishna is highlighting. For sure.
That's great. Well, this has been so great, and I just want to thank you again for being so generous with your time. And
thank you. Just
yeah.
one last thing.
Yeah. Please.
In depression, I picked up Bhagavad Gita. So the only way I can get rid of depression is if I see an integrated bigger picture, a bigger role for me, a bigger identification, not just identification with my little small ideas of life, If I keep doing that, I'll be always depressed, anxious, stressed, negative. So look at the bigger picture. Get rid of your sensory desires. If not, at least control them. Don't work only for the ego, but work for creating a balance and contributing positively for what I have received. And then you will have most peaceful, positive experience of life.
Mm. And that actually reminds me of a quote by Gandhi. He says, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others.
Very
It's
nicely said. Yes,
very much sums up the Gita. Well, this has been so wonderful, and thank you so much.
you're most welcome, Zach. Happy to be here and talking about it. And you have studied quite a bit. I appreciate that. Great.
Thank you.
Keep it up. Keep it up.
Yeah, it's one that you can never read too many times. So,
Yes.
all right. Thanks, Gandhar. Hey, this is Zach. Thanks for listening to Unpacking Ideas. If you're enjoying the podcast so far, be sure to follow it so that you get notified every time I release an episode. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, I'd really appreciate if you could take a few seconds to rate the show. This really helps with the algorithm so that more people can discover it. Also, if you would like to get in touch with me or to hear about what's coming up next on the podcast, visit unpackingideas.com/podcast. And there I post links to books and essays that we'll be discussing on future podcast episodes. And finally, if you would like to hear more from my guest Gandhar, check out his website. It's yogapoint.com. Him and his wife own an ashram outside of Nashik, India, where they host all sorts of yoga courses. They do teacher trainings, Ayurveda courses, pranayam, different yoga therapy. They do a lot of stuff over there, and it's also all online. So you don't actually have to go all the way to India to get the value from it. You can check out the courses online. And as I mentioned, I took the course back in February, and it was just really great. Top-notch faculty, really know their stuff, teaching yoga in the traditional way. Just can't say enough good things about it. So definitely check out Gandhar. I'll put links in the show notes as well. And that's it. All right, guys, thanks for listening. I will see you next episode.